Hello, welcome to Paint Night. My name is Gail Eisman. I'm a fine artist. I hold my MFA from John F. Kennedy University, and I did my undergraduate at San Francisco Art Institute. Tonight we're going to paint an old master, Van Gogh, his sunflowers. What I'd like you to do is keep in mind that this is fun, it's not stressful, and it's very easy if you want it to be. A couple of simple things that you need. The palette. For this painting, we have Venetian red, ochre, purple, yellow, green, a little bit of black, and white. You have 4 brushes. You really only need 3. Big, medium, small. I like to keep it simple. And a rag. I'm going to start out. Oh, jar of water. We're going to start out by covering the entire canvas in Venetian red. With the big brush, we're just going to cover the canvas like such. Now don't be too concerned about how neat, how perfect. The trick is to just get the canvas covered. So I'm just going to spend a minute doing that. Now have fun, have a drink. If you need paint or you need water, you need anything, feel free. Just keep it loose. Notice that I'm not putting a lot of paint on because I want to be able to get back to my white. But what I'm going to do, take a little bit of water, not too much, just to get the paint across the canvas. So what we call this is the ground. This is the basic old traditional method. You lay down a first color to set the ground, the middle tone. And then we're going to work lights to darks. I have a method, I call it a 3-step method. It's the bone, the muscles, and the skin. So right now we're creating a ground for the bones to be drawn into. So I'm not really that concerned. We're going to paint over all of this. This is just a base level. So once I have this level, just overall covering the canvas in the Venetian red. There. Nothing fancy. So while this is acrylic paint, dries quick. You have about couple of seconds, couple of minutes maybe, before it's fully dry. With oil paint you can go a little slower. So I'm dipping my rag in the water, and right now I'm going to do my composition where I lay out the objects in space. If you notice Van Gogh's composition, he divides his canvas from top to bottom with the tabletop only taking up about 1/4. So I'm just going to wipe that back. Boom, there's my tabletop. Very easy. I'm going to flip my rag so I have a dry, an unpainted side, because if there were paint on there, it would become like a brush. So with a little bit of water, you can go get a little bit more water. I'm going to draw the vase. Now I'm considering the center of the canvas by drawing across. So if this is the center, then the center of the picture is right about there. So I come down and I draw my little pot shape. You don't have to be specific. I'm more interested in that you get the 3-step idea. It's really about finding the volume, the form, the atmosphere. Van Gogh painted this, he painted it that way. You can paint yours a little bit different. But at this stage, not to worry. So I continue, I flip my rag, I dip it in the water, and then I start to divide my flowers. So if the canvas isn't divided into 4s, in the upper quadrant I have these powder puffs. As I come down, I see from the top of the vase, there's this flower, just wipe it away. Then there's this flower. So what we're doing is we're creating the skeleton. It's just the base. You don't really have to be concerned with exact. We're going to be able to build what I call sculpting. So there's these 3 flowers I have a handle on. I like to keep my finger on the picture. That way I can almost like have a road map. There's the little branch. It's coming off. The pot's not exactly right, but it's in the right place. There's the flower. Here's this flower. Now I'm going to jump onto the diagonal. There's this flower, a little loose. So I'm not painting it, I'm just creating it. I'm giving it space. There's a branch right there I know comes out of the vase. Nice little round flower right there. Then as we come up, I'm going to go ahead and turn my napkin again. As I go up from the center, I see that there's a flower right there, and it's really a circle with sunflower prongs. So I'm going to go ahead and set that beginning idea. Then if I go to the left, there's another flower. You don't have to go all the way to white. I did because I was a little wet. Make these pom-poms. We're going to paint them back. Here's another pom-pom. If I track, it's called tracking. From right here will be the next pom-pom. There's that, and then there's a little one sticks out here. All relational. Everything's in relationship. So this circle has some some sunflower pokes. Now, if anybody needs anything, feel free to just call out. Water, more wine, clean. Don't worry about getting a mess. Don't worry about getting it right. Have fun. Let it flow. It's like a dance. It comes out of your mind through your arms, and it's a dance. I'm painting Gail's version of Van Gogh. He's my teacher. He's my inspiration here. A little bit more water on a clean part of the rag, otherwise it becomes a paintbrush. And I like this little dip here. I've been following it with my finger. There's a little flower here, and boom, done. Oh, whoa, one more. Sometimes you don't see it. There's another flower right there. And some stems. Nothing has to be perfect, doesn't have to be set in stone. All right, there's the bone. Take your time. I moved through this quickly. You take your time. This is the bone. I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay, now you don't want to get too stuck in perfection. As I go through the class, I see that most people are kind of done, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to move, actually, it's a flowing process. I'm going to move to my middle brush. I feel a little bit more comfortable with that. And now that I see the predominant color for the background is this yellow. So actually, I'm going to go back to my bigger brush. My predominant color is yellow, so what I want you to do is dip your brush. Now your big brush has color on it, so you're going to wipe the color off, most of it. It can mix in. He mixed a lot. So I'm going to take the white and the yellow and a little bit of the ochre, which is, I say, the dark mustard. So a little dark mustard and a little light mustard. Now the trick with doing layers is that you get this worked look. So the background, I want it to be yellow but not too light. So what I'm going to do is I mix my yellow. Yes, I like that because that's the darker version of what I see there. You don't really want to go straight to white. So now I'm just taking this, and what I'm doing slowly is I'm painting the background, the rust area, which is Venetian red. And I'm not being super neat about it. I'm just going to go ahead with a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of mustard. Now take your time. But if you can keep along, then we can keep together. So a little bit lighter. I see that I didn't make it light enough. So what I'm doing is I'm painting what's called the negative space. I'm going into these places. That's the background. So I'm just drawing right around everything. There's a flower right there, and it's all based on my bone. So I can change it. This is a good time to sculpt. Get a little bit more white into my yellow mix because I'm seeing it's darker than I need it to be. Then I'm going around that flower, but it's not perfect. So at this point I can change it. But look, it's messy, it's loose, it's a little whimsical, it's not uptight. So now here's a point. Come into this little corner, yup, round all the way down to the tabletop. Round the flower. Don't worry about the flower not being perfect. I'm going to get in here. There's some background here. I know there's some yellow. Once again, don't worry about the flower. Just get the background color in there. All right, and just go around. You have white, yellow, mustard, dark mustard, light mustard, till you get a nice mix. Mixing is everything. It's personal. Your colors are not going to be the same as other people's colors. That's a signature. It means how everybody can paint. Not everybody can paint the same. Okay, I'm just coming in here, going around this flower. You can I'm going very quickly through this so to show you how easy and brief, but you could really get in there and start shaping your flower if you wanted to. It's not necessary, but you could. And if you decided that you were going along and you're like, I don't like this picture at all, it's really ugly, then divert. Do a flower, do your own flowers in a vase. Just use the method and you'll find that you won't get lost. It's like a hike. You can go off trail, but you can catch poison oak, you can get a little lost, so you get back on trail. So at this stage, do I like my pot? It's not my favorite shape here. I think it's a little too round. So I get to come in here and go, oh, I think I'll just trim down my pot. It's a wine jug, if you notice, those old wine jugs. So it's round. So I'm just going to cut in that little side. I call it sculpting. And there you go. There's my background. Just getting a start. Now I want to grab a little bit of darker. Maybe I'm going to grab a little of that Venetian red into my ochre and make it a little darker because the bottom's darker. So here I go. Just mix a little bit of a darker color. Once again, mixing is personal, but I suggest you do little piles of color and build up. Don't mix all your paint at one time. It's a common early on mistake is to use a lot of paint. It's not necessary to use a lot of paint at the first stages. We're still working on the muscle. First stage was the bone, this is the muscle. And it's not the right color, but I like my color a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to run with it. And once again, I see that my pot, I don't like it. Yeah, it's a little straight there. Okay. And then I'm noticing is the pot as it comes across the horizon. This pot is similar to the background. So there's a half circle to show the volume. Half circle means we're above. If it was going that way, we'd be from below. And I'm going to go ahead and just color that pot in. Get a little bit of yellow. Lighten it up on this side. Lighter on this side, darker on this side. We have the advantage of him having figured that out for us. But if you were looking at the sun, it's the sun. So now I'm going to add a little white to that color. And I'm going to go ahead and, oh, too much yellow. We'll get more white. A little bit of ochre in the white so it's creamier, like one of those old urns. And there you go. Even a little bit more. vase. There we go. All right. So it's looking pretty nice. You've got yellow on your brush. The trick with acrylic is that it dries. And you put another layer, and that bottom layer comes nicely through that other layer below. It's not exactly his, but it looks pretty good. I'm going to stop here, and then we'll move to the more muscle and detail.